Hello! My name is Graciela Morcillo and I'm so excited for today. I have again two amazing people with me and we're gonna talk about emotions. So our emotion for today is Schadenfreude. So you're gonna hear a lot about that, but let's start with introducing our amazing, wonderful, beautiful people that are here with me today. First of all, the one with the American accent that you probably heard couple of times now, but he's not American, he's German, and my best friend, Tim Reichel, the hottest bitch in town. Hello.
Hi, everyone.
How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing good. How are you?
So excited. So let's move on. And the second person that we definitely need for the word Schadenfreude, but I won't tell you now, Daniel, why. There's a reason I invited you. And, Daniel, actor, living in Munich now for 6 years, originally from London, right? You're working as an actor now for 10, 11 years. You've been in different projects, and I just love your work, everything I've seen so far. So I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you for coming. Both of you, obviously. Okay, so today we're talking about Schadenfreude. For anybody who's just clicking in our podcast, so definitely check out our blog post to it. We had different artists working with term with the yes, we could say the concept of emotion, and I translated it to you as damaged joy. And well, turns out we talked yesterday, Daniel, and you actually know the word Schadenfreude, right? But you didn't know what I meant when I was talking about damaged joy.
Not at all. Not at all. It's I got the English translation and I thought of something completely different. Well, the result I come up with, I had a feeling it would be way off, but I was just putting it into context in terms of the word itself, damaged joy. So but I had no idea it was Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, can you explain what you thought it was actually? Damaged joy. What emotion would be behind it?
I thought damaged joy would be an expression that we would use to say, just go with it, for example. So, I don't know, your dreams have been crushed or your happiness has just been crushed or whatever, something like that along those lines. And therefore, you have no other choice apart from just getting on with it, pretty much.
Oh.
Just go with it. So damaged joy. Again, when I thought of it, I thought, I'm sure it's not what it means, but that's all I could come up with at the time.
Actually, I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
It's just, if you just think damaged joy, not think of Schadenfreude, it's like, just go for it, destroy whatever is in there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I actually like that.
Yeah, me too. It's like the inner fighter coming out or something.
Yeah, definitely. It's an amazing interpretation.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, you know already what it is, Daniel, but like for all of you who are listening right now, so I looked up the definition in the German dictionary, and it would be the mischievous joy over another's misfortune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I find it interesting because the two of us are Germans, but you know the word Schadenfreude from English, right?
No. I knew it from the description of what someone told me what the German word was. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we don't really have a word in English for that as such. We would explain it as it is. So your description of it right there, that was pretty much how we would actually say it. That we don't have a word for it.
Yeah.
Not like in German.
Well, I find it interesting that I'm wondering as a German, the fact that we have a word for it, I would argue makes it much more prevalent maybe in our culture, that it's a thing that we think about, a feeling that we do feel and that we know about because we can put it into words. And I find it interesting that for an English speaker, do you think that is a feeling that people have in the UK, like in the English-speaking world? Is that something that is like can that be like a concrete thing where you can remember a situation where like people had this kind of feeling?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have that feeling a lot of times, I
Actually, that's the reason. Sorry to interrupt you, but that's the reason why I invited him.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think when I was thinking of you, I was immediately thinking of all the conversations you're having with my boyfriend every time you're talking about football. How about you're so happy when each team is losing? You're going mental. You're like insane. Sometimes you're more talking to my boyfriend than I'm actually doing. So, and like it's not because like you're good friends or anything. You bond over the fact that you were happy that you're an Arsenal team, right? Is your team. Yeah, and my boyfriend is a Tottenham supporter. And like every time like this, if the other teams is losing, the first thing, if Arsenal is losing, he would come and say, like, I bet Daniel is not feeling well right now, and stuff like this. So I think that's the purest definition of Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
In a broad context.
And I mean, obviously, also your boyfriend is Irish, and you are Brit, Daniel, right? So obviously that's why this is obviously they're both English speakers. But I mean, in the British culture, I would also, I mean, I think also there is this interesting way of like throwing shade and like like cracking up when like something happens to people, so maybe explain that to us a little bit. How is this like also like a British emotion in a way?
I mean, I don't know if it's just like a British thing. I think it's human nature in a way, personally. But in Britain, for example, I mean, we do things slightly differently as well. Like, for example, one thing that I learned, I mean, since we're talking about football as well, is that one thing that I learned about here in Germany is that if, let's just say, or domestically, you got your teams like Leipzig, Dortmund, Bayern München, all that stuff.
Yes.
And you may not like each other's teams, but if one of those teams were to be representing Germany in, say, the Champions League final, then I think most of Germany would get behind that team. Whereas, say, Tottenham Hotspur, who made a Champions League final 2 seasons ago, no way. I'm not cheering for them. I mean, that's not a good example because we had 2 English teams there. It was Liverpool and Tottenham. So let's just say if Manchester United played Bayern Munich in the final of the Champions League, I'll never be for Manchester United,
Oh wow.
That's how it is in England, we pick our team and we are purely behind that team. So doesn't matter if there's an English team representing us in a European final. As far as we're concerned, they're representing themselves. They're not representing the rest of England.
But like one question, so do you want them to lose?
Exactly,
then?
that's exactly my question.
I would want them to lose. Not so much saying that I'd want Bayern Munich to win. I'll just be more happy that Manchester United loses in that context.
So you would feel Schadenfreude?
I've got tons of respect for Manchester United because I grew up watching them win everything. Yeah. But doesn't mean I enjoy watching them win.
So hang on. So when they lose or when I don't know, they do a mistake, would you feel Schadenfreude? Do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
That's very interesting because that is very different from Germany, I think. Like, you know what I mean? I think that when like our team, and it doesn't matter which one represents us in a world championship or something, we would really get behind it.
I don't know, to be honest. I think it also depends. Like, we are not the experts in this. I'm not really interested in football.
True.
I'm the only time I'm happy to, and that's again, we're in Schadenfreude because like the only time I'm interested is when the team of my boyfriend or Daniel's team is losing. Then I'm full on. I'm like, I will look up everything just to see how I can wind them up because it makes me so happy.
But isn't that Schadenfreude from you?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Actually, yeah, it's like a weekly thing, I would say, because like, especially if you're a Tottenham supporter or Arsenal, it's more like an abusive relationship. So to say that, but like, and that's the only thing, because I know they're like constantly losing or winning, and it's like, I don't have a clue about football, but I know that it makes me happy
because
to see those emotions.
Yeah. But that's interesting because that means like in that constellation, 2 of you feel Schadenfreude, while one, is actually like one's team has lost basically. But you know what I also find interesting about Schadenfreude is actually that I don't necessarily think it has like a let's say like a dark, like a bad quality to it, but it's almost like humorous, you know? It's not, you know,
Yeah, I guess it depends on the situation, because to be honest, when I started preparing for this
Yeah.
podcast and I was thinking, okay, Schadenfreude,
yeah.
it was my second thought with the football thing. But
Yeah.
the first thing that came up on my mind was more like, I feel it a lot when people underestimate me. It's more like I've had so many situations where people like think just because I'm a woman, I'm not gonna be able to do
yeah.
this and that.
Yes.
And even stupid little things like at university, and I started learning Italian,
Yeah.
and I was mainly guys were sitting in this class, and then because I speak Spanish, I knew that maybe this word, we were looking for definitions, and basically because of Spanish I could relate, probably this is the definition for this and that, and they wouldn't listen. And they were like telling me I'm wrong, and I was just like, okay. And then they were like so confident, and like when the teacher asked them, they raised their hand, and they were wrong, and I was happy. I was so happy because I told them, and such situations I had them so many times, and that was my first association actually, and it's not really,
I mean, I think also, obviously, I think that emotions, they take different shapes and forms in culture, in different cultural contexts. We can obviously see it that when you talk about soccer or football, and then that's where you feel Schadenfreude, and then yours is a gender problem when people underestimate you because of your gender, and then they're actually wrong. Then you feel Schadenfreude, and for me, obviously, as Schadenfreude to me is a completely different thing, because when I first think about it, because I would say I consider myself queer, so I'm part of the LGBTQ community, and when I think of Schadenfreude, I immediately think about like drag culture, but also gay culture, in the sense that gay people oftentimes make fun of each other or like throw shade, which actually this expression comes from drag culture actually, and from the ballroom scene. I would argue. So it is a queer term. And this idea of throwing shade is sort of like, well, actually, you say you can read people and then you can throw shade. And you say you read them for filth. So you're actually looking for the mistakes that they make, and then you sort of like magnify these mistakes. So this is actually damage, joy, Schadenfreude at its purest, because you're really trying to look for mistakes and sort of make them so much bigger and like ridicule people. And that is Schadenfreude.
and I guess even like the football and now like the way you explain it, I think they are more connected even than maybe my definition that I try to explain. Because if you think like, if we think of RuPaul's Drag Race, and like this is what makes it so funny, or like
it's a Schadenfreude.
It's Schadenfreude. It's like so entertaining as well, and it's like there for entertainment. So like even in football, like you're
well, you find it entertaining. That's why you call Daniel when your boyfriend loses.
Definitely. That's the reason. While in my case, it was more like something that I keep to myself. I'm like just thinking, oh, I'm so happy he's like failing right now, but I'm not expressing it. On the other hand, you two, even though it's completely opposite, we have a queer community and we have a football community.
And football, soccer is a masculine thing, you know. It's definitely also connected to the ideas of masculinity.
I'm more connected than with the way I feel it.
But you know, Daniel, I also think that Schadenfreude has something to do with competition. Like, you know, I don't know how you see it, but like, so when someone else's team loses and then you have that discussion, you know, I mean, do you think that actually there's an underlying idea of like competition between men or something like that?
Yeah, it can be, because sometimes it's all about just getting one over the other, if you know what I mean. And having that banter. I mean, ultimately,
can you elaborate on that? Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, it's very much like friendly banter in a way, because, for example, like if someone has been, say, disrespecting your team all the time or underestimating your team, and then they do the unthinkable or the impossible, right? And they beat one of the toughest teams in the world. unexpectedly,
then
straight away you can then gloat about it in front of the very people who underestimated your team in the first place, and just watching them struggle to put words together, so satisfying.
I find it interesting because that almost means that there's like an underlying tension, right? And also like Schadenfreude is this comic relief of like something that is actually a little more serious in reality, you know? There's like I think it's an interesting dynamic that creates, you know? It's almost like the socially permissible expression of this tension, because you obviously can't say, you know, you can't swear at someone and be like, see you, beam, because my team won and you have no idea what you're talking about. But it's almost like this, it's more socially, I guess, permissible to use Schadenfreude as a way to negotiate these differences.
Yeah, because the thing as well, because with things like football, especially when people are very passionate about it. I mean, I consider myself as very passionate about it as well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, knowing that it's not everything. Like if my team loses, I can still get on with my day. I can still have a great day, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm still passionate about it, and so and with that passion, you tend to sometimes feel a bit offended sometimes, like when someone were to say something bad about your team or something like that, you know. And also I find that with people being so passionate about it, it's like you just have this competition going on amongst yourselves.
So like I would say, like the competition is like the word we're kind of connecting the three ways we were looking at it at the end. It's a kind of a competition. With something like kind of, well, is it a negative joy? I
don't know. I mean, it depends again on the context. I guess for you, Daniel, it's a competition between men. For you, it's between genders. For me, it's between, I guess, gay men, or, you know. But it's interesting. It feels like there is something underlying, like a tension that needs to be released somehow, and it in a funny way.
Yeah.
In a, you know, in a like, haha, I'm actually, but there's a serious
note to it.
Yeah, exactly. I think so.
But at the end, I just love the fact that like we got like three different areas and we just combined it, and it just shows again, we can be from different communities. Yeah. But and maybe we feel it in a different situation, but we
feel it.
Core of it is the same.
Yeah.
Maybe with a little bit different spices, but at the end we're all like feeling it.
We can feel it, but I guess it sort of like turns in, or it takes its shape in its cultural context. You know, I think.
Well, I think we were the perfect match for this word.
I think so too.
So thank you both so much for your insights. I think we're gonna wrap it up here. If you loved our conversation, well, listen to the next episode of our podcast. It's gonna be again me and the beautiful man next to me. And maybe the other day Daniel again. And if you want to read more about it on our blog.
And what's the next episode gonna be about?
Well, I'm not gonna tell you that. You have to check yourself.
All right.
Thank you very much, both of you.
Thanks for having me and us.
Thanks for having me as well.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.